Remember this one? It's a hymn most of us would have sung as children. But did you know the lines were inspired by the Northern Irish countryside?
Looking out across this Northern Irish landscape, this seems like a fitting song to play, and nowhere more so than here in the village of Caleta.
Caleta was home to a remarkable woman called Cecil Frances Alexander, who wrote those famous words. You might not be familiar with her name, but I bet you know more of her hymns. Like, There's a Green Hill Far Away, or Once in Royal David City.
She penned some of the most popular hymns. In fact, you'd struggle to find a hymn book that doesn't contain one of her 400 songs.
Cecil was born in Dublin 200 years ago. Caleta, where she lived for a time, is marking the anniversary in a special way. Reverend Peter Ferguson is the vicar of St Bestius Church of Ireland, the very church where Cecil worshipped.
Hello, Steve.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
And what is this beautiful garden you're working on?
Well, it's part of our project in the community here in Caleta, Killen and Ahayaran, to celebrate the life of hymn writer Cecil Frances Alexander. So it's all things bright and beautiful, a lovely harvest hymn. And so here we have the purple-headed mountain and the river running by. And you'll see the beautiful stones that have been created by the children of our schools and Sunday schools. She lived here alongside her husband, Reverend William Alexander, from 1850 to 1855. Interesting, coming just after the Irish potato famine. So I can only imagine what life was like here. And so it's recorded that she visited the sick and she fed the destitute, and not just the Church of Ireland population, but everybody. And so she brought the community together then, and on the 200th anniversary of her birth, it's lovely that she's bringing the community together again.
Cecil worked tirelessly in communities blighted by the potato famine, which had claimed around 1 million lives. Her work earned her lasting respect, not just from the Anglicans, but from the Catholics too, as Father John Gilmore explains.
Father Gilmore, now, although there was a strong religious divide, Cecil Alexander was celebrated by everybody, wasn't she?
Yes, and she seemed to excel in that role as a visitor looking after the health of people regardless of religious beliefs. She went to visit not because of a particular faith, but because of the person who needed her at that time. So it wasn't for religious reasons she went, it was just herself and her charity and her works. She lived just across the entrance yard from my church, which was a different one to hers. And I lived in the house she lived in for 4 years when I arrived here. So her mark was still here, and she still is fondly remembered by everyone.
In time, Cecil came to be affectionately known as the Florence Nightingale of Caleta. It's a measure of her standing that churches of all denominations in the village are taking part in the celebrations, each church with its own garden themed on one of her famous hymns. It's wonderful that this community can come together to celebrate Cecil Frances Alexander's life, and it's easy to see how she found such inspiration in the landscape.
All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small. All things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all.
You know, there's nothing like singing to brighten your day, but will the weather be all things